Okay, so filling in here, I am, as an opposition member, here to again rebut the points made by the government who would wish to end permanent seats on the UN Security Council and their veto powers associated with that. Just as a bit of a roadmap here, I will be first going over the points made by our own case, the opposition, and then moving on just to some overall themes of the round, just to try to clarify things. Okay, so first on the goal is, first on the opposition's case here is the point of UN positive peace. And what we are talking about here as the opposition is really more that the UN, while, again, unfortunately security measures are sometimes part of what the UN needs to do, the main focus is for the UN as a whole to further the advancement of humans worldwide and not just focus on the war part and the security of a few select nations, as the government mentioned, just those three examples. And what the point that's being made here is that with the UN Security Council giving the UN Security Council powers open to everyone, you create just a cycle of mistrust, and where there are governments from all over trying to butt their way into issues in another part of the world. And the positive peace goal is more just to focus on having a UN where again, most countries do focus on just the advancement of humans and, again, agricultural issues, just the betterment, reducing disease, all of that. And with the opposition's with the government's case of again ending these permanent seats, this creates the whole body of the United Nations, all 192 countries, moving into this security issue, and it just creates a situation where, again, so many more people have. Trevor?
I'm sorry, I just have to ask, how is, you mentioned not a few select nations, but by bringing the body of all 192 countries, and why is not preventing certain countries from dominating the Security Council intuitive to that?
Why? Could you repeat that?
In other words, you're encouraging a collaborative effort between all 192 nations. Why is preserving the dominance of a few select nations crucial to arbitrating that process?
Well, the crucial part of, again, having a few select nations is the stability that it provides. And I was going to bring that up next year, but I'll just segue into that, is that, again, with the UN Security Council, with a lot of countries, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, you could get governments, like it or are generally not that stable if you look at it over the long run. I think we can all agree to that. And when you look at some of these countries, I mean, if you have, I don't know what kind of bounds we place in the UN Security Council, but if you have, some African country that has a government change every 10 years in charge of the UN Security Council, I mean, you're going to have you could get a rather crazy, yep, go ahead.
My contention, we're not proposing that one country be in charge, but rather that a consensus and body of votes is drawn, and that by having veto power removed from select countries, we are encouraging this process. How is one country falling into this veto power vacuum that we're proposing?
Okay. So the point, though, is, again, with the stability, that we're looking to, again, provide certain nations with the ability to have a long-term say in what happens. And the main discrepancy between the two sides here seems to be that the government believes that this is detrimental to the world. Whereas with the opposition, we don't see it that way. And the point we're making, again, is that having these seats on the Security Council, again, does provide nations that even if the UN does act, these nations, the United States, China, Russia, could probably make their own action instead. And they could create their own problems instead. Just looking at it with the situation in Gaza, if you didn't have the permanent vetoes, again, you could have the issue where both the U.S. and Russia do get involved in the conflict if the UN does decide to do something. Okay, moving on to the further points made by the opposition. again, shifting to war-based thought was brought up by the leader of the opposition. And again, what this is saying is that, again, as the opposition, or as the government proposes ending the Security Council, you're shifting to focus that this is what's most important for you, and when, again, we're focusing mostly as the opposition on continuing human growth. But the final point that I want to bring up here, which is the main point, because most of the other stuff I've been saying, honestly, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Okay.
Just through the towel.
No, this is where the real good stuff starts. The main point that the opposition would like to make is that the government does not accomplish anything by affirming this resolution. And the net change, we can't even tell, and it's probably negative. Now, to warrant that, I just want to focus on, again, the fact that even if you remove the permanent seats, the government has not shown clear impacts as to why this will solve any situations, like the one in Gaza, the one anywhere. It hasn't shown a solution. And when you're looking at making a change, you need to have some sort of net positive benefit that you can is tangible and that you can prove. And again, with the government affirming this resolution, we don't see that. So, again, this is a point. The important thing to remember. Okay. So just again, the last bit here. It's just just again, the final point here is that the government is not making a clear, providing a clear benefit from the affirmation of this resolution that would allow us to make this change. And again, what we would, as the opposition, would like to bring up is that there's the stability issue where, again, you could have a situation where you have a bunch of unstable nations on the Security Council or in charge, and you need nations with a stable government, with, whether you like it or not, whether it's good or bad that Russia and China have an inordinate amount of power in the world. You need nations that have stability and have power to decide on issues of this magnitude. And when you take that issue out of their hands, you could create propensity for even larger conflicts. So for these reasons, I strongly urge you to oppose.